In this video, we are going to talk about Mog, some of its recent price action, its important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Mog to go in the next few days and weeks. So let's look at the weekly chart, and what we can see here is that very clearly Mog has been in a downtrending channel in the last few years, basically since 2024. Mog has very clearly been creating slightly lower lows as well as somewhat lower highs, with one breakout from the structure at the all-time high from back in December of 2024, but this is still very clearly a downtrending channel, and since hitting the top of the channel back in July, Mog got an absolutely devastating dump, going down over 85% in just a few months. So both the long-term structure and the price action for Mog in the last few months have been looking very weak. But with that being said, Mog is now approaching a very important support area, that is this trend line. And as you can see, every time in the past where Mog hit this trend line, it then got a very explosive rally. Right now, for Mog to go down to the trend line, it would mean a dump of about 40%. So in my opinion, there is still quite a lot more for Mog to dump before it gets a rally. A few weeks ago, in my opinion, there was actually also a possibility of Mog getting a rally earlier when it reached the area of the low from back in April, but it is now quite significantly lower than that. So I think that it is a lot more likely that Mog will just go all the way down to the trend line. In the last few months, we've seen Bitcoin go all the way down from its all-time high to about 80k, and since then in the last few weeks we've seen Bitcoin get a slight relief rally going all the way over 90k, and since then it has been consolidating. It is now at slightly below 90k, but it seems like regardless of what Bitcoin is doing, Mog just continuously dumps in the last few months. No matter if Bitcoin goes up or down, Mog just dumps. Also, another thing to note is that back in the October liquidation event, as you can see, it basically just exactly touched the trend line and then quickly recovered, but then continued to dump in the weeks following that. Generally, I think that most low market cap altcoins and meme coins will not do so well until Bitcoin starts doing a lot better and we see a much better sentiment in the entire crypto market. I think that at least until Bitcoin heads above 100k and Ethereum starts following it and approaches new all-time highs, and we see some sort of a euphoria and at least a mini alt season, we will not see most coins like Mog doing so well. Of course, there can be some exceptions, but with the structure for Mog looking so weak, I don't see a reason to why Mog would be one of those exceptions, and I definitely think that the most likely outcome for Mog is to continue dumping to the trend line, even if Bitcoin doesn't do so poorly, even if it just consolidates or even gets a slight pump. I think that it would require a very significant parabolic move for Bitcoin for it to lead to Mog actually doing much better. So I would definitely avoid Mog right now. Of course, this is not financial advice, but I think that once Mog does reach the trend line, and especially if it comes together with Bitcoin getting above 100k and continuing its relief rally, as I said, I think that those two things combined could create a very parabolic move for Mog that could lead to a rally all the way up to the trend line again, and a rally like that would be a rally of about 1000%, which I know sounds absolutely insane. This would be about a 10x, and I really don't like overhyping things and just mindlessly saying things, trying to say that coins will go to the moon. It's really not the type of videos that I make, but I think that if that scenario happens, if Mog reaches this trend line and Bitcoin starts rallying significantly at a similar time and we see an alt season, then that is actually completely possible in my opinion. And if we actually see a complete reversal in the entire crypto market and Bitcoin actually continues its bull market, despite most people thinking that the bear market already started, if Bitcoin actually creates another new all-time high and Ethereum gets a very significant new all-time high and we get a major alt season, something similar to what we've seen back in 2021 and 2017, then who knows where Mog could go. It could potentially even break above this trend line and create new all-time highs. But of course, this is very speculative at the moment. We are so far away from that happening. So considering the weakness by Mog, both in recent times and in the last few years in general, I would personally definitely avoid Mog right now. Of course, this is not financial advice whatsoever, but at the same time, I think that later, probably in a couple of months or so, if things go right, it is actually possible that Mogcoin will be one of the best performing assets in the entire crypto market, at least for a short period of time. So hey guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about Mog as well as other meme coins and altcoins, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.